Many years ago, I started off poor. I started off broke. I started off pretty stupid. I started off having failed out of high school, and I drifted for a long time. I've done a good deal of traveling when you were older. You call your drifting days traveling, and over the years, I began to study the subject of success. I had one simple idea that came to me in my late teens, and I think it was the most important idea I've ever had. It was simply this: if you study successful people and do what they do, you'll be more successful. And if you study unsuccessful people and avoid doing what they do, then you will not be a failure. One of the things I found is that if you study success, you begin to internalize success principles. And if you practice proven success principles, if you do what successful men and women have done throughout history, you will be successful too. It's such a remarkable discovery, but it has been worth a fortune to me. What I want to talk to you about tonight are some of the principles I've discovered over 20 years of research. I serve as a consultant to over 200 corporations, and I have been a personal consultant to the presidents of $3 billion plus corporations. I have studied successful men and women, read biographies and autobiographies, and looked at the characteristics and principles they follow. I've studied philosophy, economics, religion, psychology, and metaphysics, and I've come up with 10 key qualities. Now, there may be more or there may be fewer, but I find that these 10 qualities which successful men and women share all start with the letter C. The interesting thing about these qualities is, first of all, with them, success is predictable. Without them, failure is predictable. If you possess these 10 qualities, nothing in the world can stop you from being an outstanding success. On the other hand, sometimes lacking even one of these qualities can be the weak link in the chain that dooms you to a life of underachievement and failure. The second principle I discovered regarding these qualities is that they are all habit patterns of the mind. No one starts off with them, but you can learn them and you can develop them with practice. The third thing I found is that if you practice these principles until they become habits, until they become automatic for you, nothing can stop you. So let's talk about these principles. They all start with the letter C, and there are 10 of them. The first principle is clarity. Clarity is the starting point of all success. It means clarity of thinking clearly. It extends from thinking clearly to a series of other aspects regarding clarity. It means the ability to determine exactly what it is that you want to be, have, or do in life. The more I study successful men and women, the more I find that every single one of them, the top 5%, are very clear about where they are going and what they want to accomplish. When I look at unsuccessful men and women, or people who seem to be unhappy and floundering, I find that almost invariably they have a very limited sense of direction, sometimes no sense of direction at all. You see, we as human beings are goal-seeking organisms. We function at our very best when we are working toward accomplishing something important to us. In my estimation, 80 to 90% of all the unhappiness, hostility, violence, psychosomatic illnesses, alcoholism, drug addiction, and so on in our society is caused by people having no sense of direction. They don't know where they're going. As the saying goes, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. I remember an analogy. A fellow goes up to the edge of the woods, sticks his rifle into the woods, closes his eyes, and goes blam, 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 blam. He puts his rifle down, turns to his friend, and says, "Boy, I sure hope something good runs into that." Now, if you understand this principle, it's terribly important. You can be the most talented, the smartest, the best educated person with the most valuable contacts and all the advantages in life, but if you are not focused, it doesn't do you any good at all. I wrote in an article for the Wall Street Journal that if you do not have clearly or specific goals for your life, you are doomed forever to work for people who do. And that seems to be the case, yet only 5% of people have goals. So the key starting point with regard to clarity is to know where you're going, what you want to be, what you want to have, and what you want to do. Because in America, the most blessed society in all of human history, you can have anything in the world that you want if you can decide what it is you want. The second key with regard to clarity is decisiveness. Be decisive. I've never met a successful person who is indecisive, and I've never met a failure who is decisive. Be decisive. Develop the characteristic and quality of decisiveness. We know that the reason we are indecisive is that we're afraid of making a mistake. But the terrible thing is that the way we think becomes a habit, and the habit of indecisiveness can condemn us to failure. We can be talented, intelligent, and ambitious, but if we cannot make the hard decisions in life, and if we cannot make decisions readily, we will always have to work for people who do make decisions readily. Now, the interesting thing about decisions is that about 80% of them should be made the first time they come up. If you make decisions every single time they come up, sooner or later you will develop the habit of decisiveness. You'll be very clear about what it is you want, and it's easy to make decisions if you know what you want to accomplish. One of the major reasons people are indecisive, in my experience, is that they have no idea what they want to accomplish. It's almost like they come to a crossroads but don't know which direction to go. 80% of all decisions should be made the first time they come up. I read a management consultant's report on decisions. He said the thing to do about decisions is to make a decision. If that doesn't work, make another decision. If that doesn't work, make another decision. And if that still doesn't work, you're probably in the wrong field anyway. An interesting thing is that when you make a decision, you gather momentum. The difference between successes and failures is not that successful people make the right decisions. It's that successful people make their decisions right. In other words, once they make a decision, they make it come out right. Anyone who's ever started a business knows that when you start, you have a whole bunch of ideas which the market promptly tells you are completely wrong. You probably lose your shirt or most of it, and you have to revise every single decision you've made. But the desire to survive economically, the threat of losing your shirt, is a great motivation to learn quickly and make decisions. So make decisions. The third point under clarity is to have a vision for yourself and your life. The key to having a vision is to have a dream. They say in the song, you've got to have a dream if you want to make a dream come true. And you can fulfill your dreams. All the great movers and shakers throughout history have been dreamers. I've been people with dreams, people with visions. All leaders have vision. In the book of Solomon, it says, where there is no vision, the people perish. The metaphysical meaning of that is that where people lack vision, they perish inside because they lose the excitement and thrill of life. What most people do because of negative experiences and fear of failure is that if they have a vision at all, they tone it down so much that it's small and safe. It doesn't turn them on, it doesn't excite them, and they wonder why life isn't exciting. I read a beautiful line not long ago that said, the best way to predict the future is to create it, which means to have a vision. Even if the vision is up in the air or the sky, build a foundation under your dreams. When you see men and women who rise from poverty and obscurity to fame and renown, you invariably see someone who had a vision of what they could be, have and do that was far beyond what they were. Every one of us has had experiences where when we were small, we had a vision of growing up and having our own cars. As we grew older, we had visions of having our own homes and families. As we grew older still, we had visions of traveling and going to Europe. We fulfill all our visions. The wonderful thing is that we always tend to achieve our goals. The problem is that our goals are set so low that even when we do achieve them, they don't turn us on. They don't fill us with enthusiasm. So dream big dreams if you like, and focus on results, not activities. This is the key. Be clear about the results that you're trying to accomplish. This is one of the keys to peak performance, by the way. All peak performers are result-oriented, while all losers or underachievers tend to be activity-oriented. In activity orientation, they work very, very hard. Sometimes they work frantically. Sometimes they work longer hours than you do, but they lose sight of the results. Ben Trigo, the strategic thinker, said, the worst thing in the world is to do very efficiently what need not be done at all. And many of us work very, very hard to do very efficiently what need not be done at all. Anyone who's ever had employees will tell you that every single day you come across your employees doing something very diligently, but it's completely irrelevant to the success of the business. So focus on results. Here's a key question to ask yourself when you're working. I think it's one of the most important key questions, and I'll give you two. Number one is, what results are expected of me? Not what activities, but what results or outputs. What am I supposed to produce in my job? A second question you can ask yourself is, why am I on the payroll? Why am I on the payroll? Many people, especially in sales, make the mistake of thinking that shuffling cards, reading through their sales literature, organizing their multiple listings, having coffee with other people, And reading the newspaper advertisements they placed last week are all part of selling. No, selling is when you're face to face with a real live prospect who is willing, able, and capable of buying a product. Everything else beyond that is self-delusion. What results are expected? The results expected of us in selling or sales. The only time we are truly working is when we are doing something that directly contributes to that result. Isn't that true? Of course, but of course, why do we do the other things? I've come to the conclusion that the reason why we do the other things is that they are fun and easy, rather than hard and necessary. I think the major reason why people fail in life, if I can pass this on though, isn't part of this, is the expediency factor. We always do. And we always take the fastest, easiest route to get the things we want. But the fastest and easiest route in life is almost always the route to failure. It's short-term gain for long-term pain. We do what is fun and easy today instead of what is hard and necessary, and then we have to do what is hard and necessary at the end of our lives when it's too late. You'll find that the willingness and ability to discipline yourself, to be clear about what it is you want, to be clear about where you're going, to be clear about the results that you're expected to accomplish, and then to only work on those results is absolutely critical for success. It is impossible to conceive of a person being successful who is not capable of disciplining themselves to do what is hard and necessary rather than what is fun and easy. Especially when it comes to managing your time, when it comes to looking at what you should do on a day-to-day basis. Focus on results, not activities. Now let me give you a method that has helped me write out your goals. All goals have to be in writing, by the way. If you don't have your goals in writing, then they're not really goals at all, they're merely wishes. As they say, a wish is merely a goal without any energy behind it. Have your goals in writing? Write them out very specifically and clearly. Then do this every single morning. Rewrite your major goals in the first person singular as though they already existed. Rewrite your major goals every single morning. This should take you about 2 to 4 minutes, maybe 5. You can do it all in a paragraph. For instance, if your goal is to earn $50,000 a year every single morning, write, I earn $50,000 a year. If your goal is to be excellent in real estate, say, I am an excellent salesperson in my field. If your goal is to weigh a certain number of pounds or to enjoy a certain kind of life, write down your major goals in the first person singular as though they already existed today every single morning. Then every single evening, take about 5 to 10 minutes just before you turn on the television and say, wait a second, I've got to review my progress. Sit down and review what you've done during the course of the day. Ask yourself, what have I done right today? What have I done that moved me toward my goals? And the second question, what would I do differently if I had today to do over again? Those 4 steps, by the way, writing and rewriting your goals each morning, reviewing them in the evening, and asking yourself those 2 questions. What did I do right today? And what would I do differently if I had today to live over? If you'll ask yourself those 2 questions for the next 30 days, you'll accomplish more than you've accomplished in the last 6 months. This is the most incredible method I've ever seen. I learned it some years ago. Just write your goals every morning, because every time you write your goals down, you're programming them into your subconscious mind. When you program them into your subconscious mind, you set up a field of vibration within your brain. This law of attraction, based on this field of vibration, attracts into your life people and circumstances that harmonize with your dominant thoughts. Everybody here has had the experience of starting to read about a subject, think about a subject, become interested in a subject, and suddenly you start to attract into your life books, magazines, articles, conversations, people, and opportunities that expand on that subject. Have you had that experience before? What you do is create a force field that, while we cannot explain it scientifically, is a field of vibration that goes out from you and attracts back into your life everything that you need to realize your dominant goals. Everyone has had the experience of writing down their goals at the beginning of the year, opening the envelope at the end of the year, and finding that 80% of the goals have been accomplished. Have you ever had that experience? Absolutely remarkable, isn't it? The only problem with goals is that we don't set enough of them, and we don't set them high enough. You can have anything you want. Imagine you could have anything you want. Anything that you can hold in your mind on a continuing basis, you can have. Anything that you are crystal clear about wanting and are willing to pay the price to get, you can have. So clarity is the key. Be clear about what you want. Be clear about what you have to do to get it. Be clear about your vision. Be clear, speak, walk, talk, and act with clarity. The final point with regard to clarity is this. I have seen many men and women trip themselves up by being beat around the bushers, if you like. They're very careful about whatever they say, and by the time they say it, people have gone home for lunch. One of the keys to success is to be very straight and very clear, be very precise. Interestingly, one of the reasons people do not speak to the point is a fear of offending others. Isn't that true? For fear of offending others. There was an interesting study last year. They asked a great number of executives, male and female, if you had to tell someone something unfortunate regarding their career that would affect their lives, and this is something you've known for a long time, how would you go about breaking the news to them? Each person described their strategy. They would set up the timing right, start off talking about subjects they had in common, close the door to keep out the noise, and so on. They all had circuitous routes to get to the point. Then the researchers reversed the question, how would you like to be informed of the same subject? And every single one of them said, I'd like to be informed in a straightforward way. I'd like someone to tell me the news directly. You see, all of us want to be dealt with in a straightforward way because we know we can take whatever it is. But we think everyone else is too fragile, so we foot and tiptoe around, avoiding giving them the news. By the time we finally do get the news to them, it sometimes causes more problems than necessary. So be straightforward. Be clear in your language. Be clear in your actions. Let people know exactly where you stand, exactly what you mean. It's very, very important. It takes practice, by the way. Every single one of these habit patterns, every single one of these qualities must be learned through practice. The second letter in the 10 qualities is competence. This is a discovery I made a couple of years ago, and it's just staggered me. I had been studying success for years. Then came the book In Search of Excellence, and then The Pursuit of Excellence, and then Refining Excellence and Losing Excellence, and all the excellence books. I sat down and looked at this whole concept of excellence, and I saw something I hadn't noticed before. It was almost as if something had come to the surface of my mind. I noticed that every single man or woman I studied who had achieved any kind of success in any field whatsoever had done so after making a commitment to becoming excellent in that field. And I began to look, and I began to compare, and I began to talk to people. I speak to thousands of people virtually every month, and I found that I never met a single person who was successful who wasn't excellent at what they did. That competence, the commitment to becoming excellent in your chosen field, is an indispensable prerequisite for success. If you're not good at what you do, you haven't got a chance in our competitive society unless you win the lottery. Success is predictable if you commit yourself to becoming excellent. It does a whole lot of other things within your mind, but when you commit yourself to becoming excellent, it changes everything about you. Only the top 5 or 10% are excellent. You've heard of the rule, the 80/20 rule, the Pareto principle, that the top 20% of salespeople make 80% of the sales, while the bottom 80% make only 20% of the sales. Do you know what the ratio difference is? It's 16-1. The average income of people in the top 20% is 16 times higher than the average income of the people in the bottom 80%. Now let me ask you a question. Does that mean the people in the top 20% are 16 times better than those in the bottom 80%? Are they 16 times more experienced? Do they work 16 times the number of hours? Do they have 16 times more years of education? Are they 16 times more handsome? Are they 16 times anything? You know that it's not humanly possible twice as smart as someone else, unless you're looking at a very unintelligent person and a very brilliant person. On average, it's not even possible to be twice as smart as anyone else. Yet 20% of these people are making 16 times the average of the rest. Prudential Insurance Company did a study some years ago. They put the thousands of agents they had throughout the United States into their computers and compared their income. The 80/20 rule held true. 20% of the salespeople were doing 80% of the business. Since they had all the data in the computer, they ran it through one more time and asked, what's the average income of the top 20% of the top 20% compared to the bottom 80%? For the mathematicians among you, this works out to the top 4%. What they found was that the top 4% were earning, on average, 32 times the average of the people in the bottom 80%. Then they ran it one more time and found that the top 20% of the 20% of the top 20%, which is the top 0.80 dash dash, were earning, on average, 54 times the average of the people in the bottom 80%. In every state, in every major city where they had an office with a large number of agents, there was one agent selling the same product at the same price to the same people with the same competition, under the same circumstances, and facing the same economic difficulties, who was earning 50 times the amount of the average agent. There were 50 agents in the office, and one person was earning more than all of them combined. Isn't that amazing? What they found was that the key to this success was that each of these agents had made a commitment to becoming excellent early in their career. They didn't say, I'm going to go into this to earn a living. They said, I'm going to go into this to be the best. They read every single book written by top agents, attended every single seminar, listened to every single tape, and spent every hour they could with other successful people learning what they needed to know to be successful. You must commit yourself to excellence. You must commit yourself to becoming the best. And the wonderful thing is that excellence is a journey. It's not a destination. You never get there. Complacency and satisfaction are the key enemies of excellence. But once you commit yourself to becoming excellent, the whole world opens up for you. A very important point about excellence is simply this: do your best every time and always strive to do it better. Do your best every time and always strive to improve. Remember, it's usually the last 5 or 10% of any job or project that makes all the difference. What we often do is get 90% done, then start dragging our heels. We start to put the paperwork aside, think of excuses, and do what's fun and easy rather than what is hard and necessary. The second point with regard to excellence is this: if you're not excellent in your field, you don't go anywhere. You're locked in place. I had a young man come up to me at an employment seminar not long ago, and he said, there are no opportunities in sales. I just got laid off. I said to him, young man, if you were good in your field, you would not have been laid off, because good salespeople are the rarest people in our society. He replied, well, I don't need to study sales. I just do what comes naturally. I said, I rest my case. Selling is an art. Selling today is a profession. Selling is a science. And in order to be good at selling, you have to study it more than the person next to you, who is also determined to become excellent. Excellence yields opportunities. When you become good, it's as though the Red Sea of opportunity opens up before you. When you become excellent, you come to the attention of others. People try to recruit you, offering you more responsibilities and opportunities. When you put on your business card that you're the top person in your field, people like to buy from the best salespeople. By the way, you can tell how excellent you are at any time in your life by asking yourself one simple question: how many job offers have you had this month? It's an interesting question. How many people have called you up and said, I want to hire you away from where you are, and I'll pay you more and give you a better deal? Excellent people get job offers every month. Some get job offers every week. If you're not getting job offers, the market is telling you what they think of your level of competence. This is very important. If you're going to do anything at all, the only time you'll get any joy out of it is if you do it well. You see, when we do something well, it gives us a sense of self-esteem and pride. We feel like winners. But when we do things in an average way, it doesn't give us anything. Notice that. When we do things in an average way, it doesn't give us anything. But when we do something in an exceptional way, it makes us feel wonderful about ourselves. That's why companies committed to excellence aren't hundreds of percent better in any given area. What they are is 1 or 2% better in 100 different areas. And that's the key. You don't have to make a quantum leap to be different from someone else. You just have to be a little bit better in the critical areas that make a difference. And you can achieve that by setting it as a goal and working on it. You can become anything you want to become. The harder you work, the better you get. The harder you work, the better you get. In our society, there's a lot of controversy over why should I work so hard at my job. The fact is, less than 5% of people really succeed in life, less than 5% of the population. Out of 100 people working today, only one will be wealthy when they retire. 4 will be financially independent. 15 will have some savings. 80% will be broke and dependent on charities and pensions. Only 1 or 2% of people in each generation really make it in life. Every single study shows that the people who make it are the ones who work hard, hard, hard. If you think it's hard to be successful, try being a failure. Try coming to the end of the road with no money dependent on pensions. You don't know what hard is until you live like that. But if you work hard, the average self-made millionaire in America works 12 to 13 hours a day, about 60, 65 hours a week. I'll tell you this about hard work. In our society, you only work 8 hours a day for survival. Everything over 8 hours is for success. And if you're only working 8 hours a day, you're in trouble. If you're only working 8 hours a day, you better have a rich uncle or someone else who's going to take care of you, because 8 hours a day only gets you survival in our society. It's so competitive that if someone else is working 9 hours, they've got an edge on you. If they're working 10, they've got an even bigger edge. Every hour over 8 that you invest is an investment in your future, an investment in your success. Whether you're studying, reading, or working, if you put in those extra hours, it will pay off. And it will pay off in spades. It's like planting a seed in the ground. When you plant a seed, the plant that grows isn't just one seed, it's hundreds. There's a crop, but you must first put the seed in the ground. The market only pays excellent rewards for excellent performance. It pays average rewards for average performance and below average rewards for below average performance. I talk to men and women all over America who are unhappy, sad, and don't like their work. You know why? It's because they're not good at what they're doing. Let me give you a couple of key points. First, you'll never have a feeling of self-esteem or self-worth. You'll never feel wonderful about yourself until you are good at what you're doing. Second, if you don't love your work enough to want to be the best at it, get out of it the way you'd get out of a burning house. Do not stay at a job that you don't love, because that's the high road to dissatisfaction, frustration, and unhappiness. The next letter is C, for concentration. I believe that the ability to focus and concentrate are the 2 keys to success in life. The ability to focus clearly and know exactly what you want to accomplish, and the ability to concentrate single-mindedly on achieving that one thing without diversion or distraction. The number 1 key to effectiveness is being able to sit down, look at your work, and apply the 80/20 rule. Ask yourself, which 20% of the things I need to do account for 80% of the value of my work? Always work on the top 20%. You see, in life, there's never enough time to do everything, but there's always enough time to do the important things. Instead of doing what is fun and easy, which is what most people do, they make a list of everything they have to do and start at the bottom of a list, working on the irrelevant things. Successful people, peak performers, concentrate on the top items. Remember, anything other than working on the top items on your list is a waste of your time. Time management is not just time management. Time management is life management. You can do anything you want with your life if you manage your time properly. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. The ability to concentrate, to discipline yourself, to use willpower and perseverance to focus on one thing at a time is a quality all successful people share. Nothing great has ever been accomplished without the ability to concentrate single-mindedly on one task at a time. Always concentrate on the best use of your time. Here's my favorite time management question, which I'll give to you for free before you start anything. Ask yourself, what is the most valuable use of my time right now? Make a list and ask yourself, what is the most valuable use of my time right now? When you get into your car, ask, what is the most valuable use of my time right now? When you leave the house or office, ask again, what is the most valuable use of my time right now? Ask yourself that question over and over and over again until it's drilled into your subconscious mind as a command. Whenever you're tempted to do something small and irrelevant, that command will come up and say, what is the most valuable use of your time right now? and it will push you into doing what's most important. Whenever you're working on the most valuable use of your time, you feel great. Concentrated effort is a source of energy and enthusiasm. It makes you feel wonderful when you're working on something important, when you're working on something irrelevant. Develop a sense of urgency. A sense of urgency is a quality possessed by only 2% of the population. 2% of people do things fast. 2% of people have a bias for action. In Tom Peters' wonderful book, In Search of Excellence, he says that all excellent companies have a bias for action. And all the companies that don't fall into the category of excellence are those that do things when they get around to it. You call them up with a problem or complaint, and you hear back from them 3 or 4 weeks later. But with excellent companies, you call with a problem, and bam, someone is back with you in 2 minutes. If you ever want to experience this, call IBM or Hewlett-Packard. Say you're having a problem with your PC, and they won't let you off a taking care of you. Call other companies, and they'll say, "It's not my job," or "the person who takes care of that isn't here." You ask, "When will they be back?" And they respond, "I don't know. Can you leave a message?" You've dealt with those people, and they can't understand why they're struggling. You know that 20% of the companies make 80% of the profits in every industry. So develop a sense of urgency. Get the reputation as the person who does things fast. Develop a reputation for speed and dependability, and your future will just open up in front of you. Imagine if you owned a company and had 2 employees. Both were reasonably talented and doing well, except one had a sense of urgency and did things fast. Every time you gave them something to do, they took it and ran with it, like a ball player catching a fumble and running for the goal line. The other person got to it after lunch or maybe next Monday. No rush, right? Which one would you give additional responsibility to? Which one would you promote? Which one would you spend money on for training? Which one would you send to places where you needed help? It's always the person with a sense of urgency. I can tell you this, that sense of urgency has been worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to me as a consultant. I've been able to save my clients millions of dollars by acting fast when given a project to handle. If I had acted even a day later, it could have cost them a fortune. Develop that habit working fast with a sense of urgency. Act now, do it now, do it now. Especially in sales. If someone calls you with a question, get back to them now. If someone has a problem, address it now. If someone needs something, move on it quickly. If it means skipping coffee breaks or lunch, do it. If you develop a reputation for speed, it will be worth a fortune to you. It takes time, but it's a habit. Most people shuffle through life, get into things when they feel like it, but all high performers have a sense of urgency. And finally, complete each job you start. Get on with the job and stay with it until it's 100% finished.